It's taking kind of the best and the greatest of Moodle, the things that many of you guys are probably already familiar with in Moodle, and it's bringing that over. So a lot of the things about interactivity within a course, collaboration within a course, the look and the feel to a certain extent is still there within Totara. But there's going to be some other things that are added on top of there. And I also like to note that this kind of, the arrow flows back into Moodle. So some of the things that have been going on with Totara are actually getting pushed back into Moodle. So some of the new features in Moodle 3.1 kind of are a direct result of what's going on in Totara, some of the competencies. While done a little bit differently, I think there is a kind of a direct correlation to it. Also, kind of there is a Totara community as well, and customers are kind of feeding into the product and to the roadmap, but also global partner network like Remote Learner, taking advantage of the features that are in there, adding to it our own unique abilities and skills to kind of innovate it and develop plugins to kind of push the envelope a little bit more. So all of that's kind of coming together into the kind of this new platform that's specifically geared to enterprise level organizations. So some of the key features that we're going to be kind of talking about today, learning pathways. And these are things that can be automatically assigned based on a number of criteria: job roles, organizations that they might be a part of, and even competencies. Totara has this amazing ability to help organize and segment users in a way that just wasn't there with Moodle. There's even some kind of additional things that can be done. If you're familiar with one of Remote Learner's other products, Ellis, Totara has this kind of even more enhanced ability to kind of create different ways to organize the users. Again, like I said, based on your position, maybe even a different set that's based on the type of organization that you're in, but also this idea of competencies that we'll see. And again, it's all automatically assigned based on that specific user. Compliance management, taking some of these courses that could be organized into like a program and specifically creating this new ability for recurring trainings that need to happen, maybe say once a year. There's kind of features that are built into the system so that you take it once, and then when that time period is over, maybe it's a year most often, then you come back into it and you have to kind of retake it immediately after there. And the nice thing is there's automatic messages that are kind of baked into it as well, so that if you are a learner, you're basically told, hey, I need to take this again. And a manager would also kind of get those same notifications too, to kind of warn and inform people of when those things are coming up to be due. Also, there's this kind of unique role, a specialized manager role. It's very similar, for those of you who are familiar with Moodle, it's very similar in nature to the parent role. However, it's got some added features on there. So basically it works where if you've got an organizational hierarchy within a company, you can actually assign people to a manager. Much like in Moodle, you have the ability to assign people to a like a parent or a mentor role, and that person would then have added flexibility to kind of go into the system and view the records, view the completions of people that are, again, underneath them kind of within that organization. So we're going to take a look at that. I've got a user that's kind of already set up in the system that's set up in that way. The report builder is perhaps in many ways kind of that most prized feature, in my opinion, of Totara. We're going to take a look at this in particular. It's this ability to take sets of data that are already existing in the system. As many of you who are familiar with Moodle know, the case is often the data is there, it's stored within the tables, there's just not a way to kind of create that custom report for you automatically. Well, with Totara, that feature is in there, with this report builder. You can pick a source, basically picking if it's course completion or program completion or something like that, and then actually build the report in the way that you want. Adding in columns, as we'll see, adding in special profile information if that's the thing that's important to you, and then being able to assign those certain roles within the company or within the organization so that automatically you can view the people that are maybe within your organization or the people that are, of similar position to yourself. All of that happens pretty much automatically based on the report that you're building. And then the final thing, which is really a whole webinar into itself, is that there's this kind of appraisal and development aspect that's also kind of baked into Totara. From within the same platform, you can set up appraisals to happen with that manager and managee relationship, where you're actually kind of setting up a framework where you can go in and work with that person, review their goals, review the competencies that have been assigned to them, and even their completions of programs and certifications that might be within the system. All of that can be built out, customized, tailored for a specific organization, and done through the Totara platform, again, using some of the authority, transferring it to another system because it's all kind of baked into the same platform. So let's take a quick look at this now. I'm going to switch my screen. No, I do not want to end the webinar. And I'm going to log in first as an end user that I created. And I think as you'll see when I log in, many things are very much the same. The login, the authentication nature, the plugins that you can connect with, those external identity providers like LDAP or SAML, all of those things, the plugins are still there. Again, it's very similar to Moodle in nature. Even the feel and the look can be changed in a similar way as Moodle. This is actually one of Remote Learner's themes that we've been working on in order to kind of make it ready for Totara. This is a theme that you can populate a logo in, you can change the color palette, update what we call these kind of navigation blocks and kind of customize them specific to your organization. So just like Moodle, Remote Learners got the ability to take a Totara site and brand it and make it attractive and appealing, just like in the same way that we've always been able to do it with Moodle. Some of the differences that you'll see within a Totara site is a reliance, kind of an increased dependence and use of these drop-down menus. The drop-down menus are very similar to the custom drop-down menus that are, again, that are there in Moodle, but Totara has kind of co-opted them for their own use, linking automatically to some of these things that we're going to take a look at. So again, Dan Bennett is the learner that I logged in with, and just kind of give you some background about him. He's got a position within the company that he works for. He's also a part of a specific organization, a specific territory that he's been assigned to. So there's this kind of dual ability to assign people, not just to kind of a single group of users at the site level, but different kinds of users, different kinds of groups. So like I said, he's got a positional title that carries meaning within the system, and he's also assigned to maybe a specific location or organization within the greater company. But also he's a manager of certain people, so we're going to be able to see how that kind of manager role can kind of inform things. At a course level, if I were to kind of drop into a course that he's already been assigned to, I just do this to kind of show you that it is very similar to Moodle. Once you get into the course level, you can upload resources in a very similar way. This is actually the icon for a quiz, so there's the same kind of nature of just about any sort of plugin that you're familiar with in Moodle, you're going to be able to probably use that in Totara as well. The same thing also applies with the conditional release that you might be aware of. You can do a lot of that stuff in Totara too. One of the different things that's going to appear within a Totara course is a increased and kind of different take on the face-to-face activity. The face-to-face activity is a third-party plugin that you may have come across. It's used in Moodle for the last few years, but it's actually originated in Totara. And it's basically this ability to take in this case, a different sessions, kind of face-to-face training that somebody could sign up for, and then kind of just have a way to organize it. So you can kind of post different times when somebody might meet, create a predefined list of rooms and even different seat numbers that can be assigned to it so that it can't be overbooked based on the space available. But then it kind of gives people the ability to sign up for those face-to-face things. When you sign up for one of these face-to-face things, it actually is what's known as a booking within the system, and those are tracked at the site level here under the My Learning tab for My Bookings. So it kind of gives you this ability to show everything that you're supposed to be going to, including alerts of things that are kind of coming up. My bookings, there we go. I clicked the wrong one. So right now I don't have any current bookings, any current face-to-face things that I'm looking at, but I could also look at some past ones that I might have gone to. Again, this would kind of be informed and be populated by anything that could be a face-to-face event that I signed up for within the system. So regardless of which course, they would kind of all feed back into the same thing, and also be populated if there's a date associated with it to the calendar as well. Now, the main thing that I kind of wanted to focus on with our time is this idea of the required learning, okay? One of the, I'd say, the challenges of Moodle sometimes on its own is that it's a course is sometimes an island unto itself, kind of like Las Vegas. What happens in a course stays in a course, and it's hard to kind of link multiple courses together. With Totara, you have this additional ability to create programs, and a program being a series of courses that might go together. Okay, so Dan Bennett again, his profile, who he is in the system, has informed the system and automatically assigned him to certain things based on who he is. He's a health and safety officer, so therefore he's automatically been assigned to this program based on his job title. So, and notice it says required learning. So these are the things that he has to do because of who he is. So I'm going to click on the health and safety. And it says within anything that you've been assigned, anything that's required, it's going to tell you why you have to take it. In this case, it's because he's a member of something called an audience, which is one of the ways that you can organize users on the site. He's a member of an audience called Health and Safety Officers. So again, it's the moment his profile was created and populated with this information, the system knew that he needed to take this. And it consists of more than one course. So there's kind of this Health and Safety Officer induction course, kind of like a new hire course. I can take that by clicking here and launching it, giving me a nice little status bar to know that it's complete. But there's also prereqs that are built into it that you can set up. So I take one stage and then I can move on to the next one, but I can't actually, I'm trying to click in here, I can't actually get into it because I haven't completed the initial one. You can have as many of these kind of phases or stages of courses as you need. Within there, you can set up the rules for access in a number of ways, prerequisites, or in some cases it could be maybe, notice it says all courses have to be completed. It could be that it take one of them, right? So you get to one of these sections of courses and it's, take one of the three. And each one of the options here might be a different time period when the course is offered, or it could be a specific location that it's offered at if there's a face-to-face component. So all of that's kind of built into the system, and it's tracking not only the completion of an individual course, but it's tracking the completion of that program as a whole, okay, telling you when it's assigned, when it's due, and again, telling you why you're supposed to complete this. If I go back to the required learning page again, that's kind of example of a program, but there's also things called certifications. Certifications are very, very similar to a program, except there's this component of a recertification. And notice this one, again, it's because I'm a member of something, in this case an organization, right? Maybe I'm part of, in this case, the Texas Regional Office. All right, so because of my membership there, I'm required to take this particular certification. Maybe there's specific compliance requirements in the state of Texas that need to be taken into account. I'm coming up maybe pretty soon on my due date. You have the ability to request extensions. Within this, as you can see, this one's a little differently set up. I can take all three of them at any one time. The original course set is completed once, and then after the period of time that is allowed for the recertification hits, what happens is basically Totara will take the completion information that's saved in the individual courses, and it will save that. It'll kind of archive it. It's not going to erase it completely. It'll still be available to be reported on within the reporting aspect, but it'll take the content that is in there, remove it, and basically reset the course so that it's ready to be retaken as compliance for the next year, or the next quarter, or whatever the duration limit is. So it's kind of an automatic thing. In this case, I think it's set to be every year. So when 2016 is over with, the courses would essentially be scrubbed, reset, the original completion saved. My enrollment would be renewed, and I would be able to go back in and retake the course and have it be for my compliance for the next year. Now, not pictured here, but you can kind of get a hint to it. There's this concept of an initial or an original certification path, and then you can also set up a difference for the recertification. So perhaps maybe the original one might be completing 1, 2, and 3, but recertification, really I only have to do the third one. And so that's the only thing that would appear in a recertification. So again, there's so many different really cool ways that you can set these up in order to kind of hit exactly the use case that your particular organization is wanting to play with. I'm going to kind of go over to my team next, because as I said, Dan Bennett's got a group of people that have been assigned to him, so he's their manager. So this is actually a report that's kind of embedded into the system, and it's kind of a brief overview of all the people that report to him. Might be a little hard to see in the screen share. I can zoom in a little bit, but you can see from here I can really quickly go in and take a look at all of these different things that each of these learners in the system have. So if I wanted to take a look at, has Bob Sturm signed up for any bookings? Past bookings? No, he hasn't. Go back to my team. Maybe I wanted to take a look at the goals that Bob Sturm has created. And these goals can be, as you can see here, they're company goals. You can actually set out and upload in a set of goals that people can have assigned to them. Maybe if I don't like what Bob Sturm's got in here, I can actually assign more and kind of put them on his list, and we can go over them in the appraisal and review process. But you can also put in here personal goals. Just kind of being a little silly right here, root for Oregon in the upcoming college football playoffs or something. But you can kind of see how it doesn't have to be a goal that's maybe part of the original system, but you can actually add additional goals. Maybe he needs to work on interpersonal skills. Okay, add a description in here. I'll just put something there. Maybe there's different types of scales that could be put in. The scales can even be customized. You can add your own scales in there, and then maybe give it a target date. We'll give them a date of tomorrow. It's a quick turnaround. So I've added a personal goal. Notice it's been assigned by Dan Bennett. Depending on how you set it up, you can also let people add their own personal goals to the system. So if I go back to my team again, I can take, I can take a look at all these people. I've got ability over them, much like that parent or mentor role might work within Moodle proper, if you're familiar with that. Looking over at the appraisals, Again, all the people that have been assigned to me, I can take a look at their appraisals. If I go down to Bob Sturm, I can kind of see where we're at within this appraisal process. This is something that's, again, set up individually whenever you're setting up the system. You're by no means locked into this kind of 3-stage thing. You can add as many stages as you want, call them whenever you want, and also kind of add different parts in there. So the way that I set this one up, there's kind of a review of the goals. Okay, so basically pulling in the goals that are there, looking at competencies that might even be assigned in the summary. The nice thing about this is you can set up workflows based on your organization. In this one, the manager has to complete the stage, but also it's incumbent upon the employee themselves to complete it as well. So this one's kind of waiting for Bob to come in and put in his input to save it. Only once both of these have been completed can you actually move on to the next stage of the process. Now this last thing I'm going to look at is I created this one report specifically for this Dan Bennett person and people kind of that are similar to them. It's a program completion report by position. So really what I did here is I said, I'm going to create a report that shows all of the different programs that a learner has been assigned, and I added a few little bits of extra data that I wanted to see in there, some extra profile information and things like that. But then I also said I want it to be by position, meaning I want to only bring back information that's applicable to a person if they meet the right criteria. So in this case, it's only going to pull back records of people that are within that person's position or lower within the organizational hierarchy chart. Meaning, you know, you basically have to be, I think Dan Bennett's listed as a manager of health and safety officers. So below him within the org chart are other positions, and he's able to see them automatically. So if I click on the report, again, just about everything in here can be customized, even how it's filtered. So you can kind of add additional things in here to show and be filterable by an end user. And then down below, again, it's only pulling back those people that are in me, but it's pulling back all of their information, the status. Of course, nobody's completed yet, but the due date would be added in there, and program ID. I was just kind of throwing in some extra columns that could be put in there, but it's very, very easy to create one of these. In fact, what I was going to do is kind of wrap up this kind of quick show and tell is here in another browser, log in as a administrator who kind of has the ability to create those reports. You'll notice menu options. Again, if you're familiar with Moodle, the learning curve is pretty quick because it's very similar to Totara. And I go down in Site Administration. To Reports, Report Builder, and Manage Reports. And as you can see here, here are the user-generated reports, kind of the ones that I was playing with. This is that program completion report by position that I had assigned to the Dan Bennett user. So here are those columns. So say somebody comes back and say, you know, I like that report, but really I'd like a little bit more information about it. Well, it's as easy as adding another column and then pulling back whatever the information is. So is it specific user information? Is it specific information about the program in question? So I can scroll down through all of the different things. So, you know, when is that program available from? The short name of the program. Again, all of this information can be added just within a click. So let's say it's add this available from. Click add. And now if I were to refresh that report in the other one, there would be this new one there. You can even customize the headings if you needed to. Again, as I mentioned, you can also change the way that it's filtered up at the top. If that was an important thing for you so that you could kind of weed out and get down to a more specific list of records that came back. But also, the content tab is what I think is the most powerful, because this is going to automatically kind of filter and show the records that pertain to who that user is. So in this case, I've said show records from the staff in the user's position. So that's what's basically the determining factor. And I said just below the user's position. So looking at the organizational hierarchy within this organization, it'll pull back records from anybody who's, below that user's position. But you could just as easily do it in all these other ways. So based on organization, based on show by the user, show by the date completed. So there's all these kind of different ways to automatically filter it and have it be applicable for the person who's generating that report. I could just as easily kind of go back to the main page of the reports and kind of duplicate this report. If it's something that's useful, duplicate the report or clone it, as it said here, but then change how it's filtered, just in a slight way to make it appropriate for another group of users. The last thing that I kind of wanted to point out, and it's kind of a hidden gem, I think, it's something that needs to be kind of, once you kind of understand the potential here, it kind of opens up a number of doors. Many of the things that are kind of shown within a Totara site are actually considered what's called an embedded report. So, for example, if I go back to the home screen, this right here, this My Current Courses, in Totara, this is considered a report. It's something that's embedded on a page. Now, the benefit of it being a report is that I can customize it. I'm no longer locked into, well, that's just how it looks. Say I also want to know something else about it, another column of information. All I have to do is update the report within here, and I can change it. So this is the My Current Courses report, right? All I have to do is come and I can edit it, add a different column, or change the column, and instantly I've kind of customized that landing page for my users, kind of giving them exactly the information that they want to know about it. It's like I said, it's kind of a little bit of a hidden thing, but once you kind of realize the potential to really customize the interface, it opens up a number of doors. So I like to kind of point that out a little bit at the top. All right, so we're at about 30 minutes into the hour. I'm going to stop and go back to the main homepage in case anyone has a question. But like I said, I wanted to kind of definitely give everybody the opportunity to post some questions, pepper me with the best you've got. Let's see. Rod asks, in the last activity, is the last activity in the course one of the options to add to that user report? That's a good question. Let me take a look at that. So the My Current Courses report. Let's take a look. I don't think so, Rod, although there are some cool things that we could put in here, like what's considered a passing grade, what's the required grade, and what's their current grade. But it looks like it's not going to show something like that, you know, where they currently left off within the course. So Virgil asks, can we see an example of a schedule of future ILT? I'm going to take that instructor-led training classes. This is so a student can see what classes for a tool set is available. Sure. That example that I showed, I think you're I'm thinking of the kind of the My Bookings that I showed before. So let me see. The example that I had here in the Sales 101, I think that they had all passed of upcoming ones. Let me see, view all sessions. So these are some of the previous sessions. I probably need to update this. Last week I added a couple in, but probably need to update some new ones. But basically you can see that these would be the sessions that are available for a specific thing. One thing I didn't mention, but you can also declare interest. So in this case, as you know, there's no upcoming sessions. So I could, if I wanted to, declare interest and basically say, you know, I really want to see this, please add more. And it would go to the teacher that's been in this course. Now, if I switch over, back to the administrator one, so I could actually go through the process of adding some new courses in here. Courses sales. There it is. Jump straight to that face-to-face one. So if I go into this one, how to close a sale, as my example, the process for adding a new one, there's two different ways. You can import a file. No, actually, I'm sorry, that's for attendance, if you wanted to export the attendance. But adding a new session is as simple as just setting up a few fields. So how long is it going to take? 60 minutes. I do know the date. I'll say it's starting tomorrow. This is also, I mentioned you can have predefined rooms set up. So I kind of put a couple in the system already. We'll say this is in the executive conference room. And that conference room already has a predetermined capacity that I added to it. Allow cancellations, minimum capacity. So you basically can say that it has to make, you know, we're not going to actually hold it unless it hits 5, and a cutoff days. And you can even have approval things set up. So let's save changes, and that way I can add a new option there. Let's see, does that kind of help answer your question, Virgil? And if I were to kind of go back over now to the end user, I'll hit refresh. Now there should be a new session. Maybe I didn't make it to date. But that would be how you would add new sessions to the face-to-face module. All right, are there any other questions at this time? One thing I kind of, as you guys are thinking of other questions, I could kind of point to is this kind of improved way that they've updated the, oh, how does a student register for that class? Good question. Let me make sure that I can get it to be in there. Let's see. Somehow it looks like I didn't save it, I think is the problem. Let's see, all I need to do is in there, it's for July. There. So now it should be there. I must not have hit save last time. There it is. Okay, so now it's there. So it says the book status is booking open, options none. You know what? I didn't say you actually had to reserve it. That was the problem on that one. But basically, if I had done this right, it would say a status open, and then I could basically sign up for it by clicking on it right here. I think I must have put a time limit on it so that it's not showing up. So status booking open. But an end user should be able to come in and they could just click on this sign up option. And then once you sign up for it, I can even put a sign up note. And then notice its notifications would automatically be sent out to that user. So the, let's see, Larry put a question in, how easy is it to set groups and change group members? Larry, if you're familiar with Moodle, the groups within a course have not been changed all that much. So if I go back into this course, again, the group function, users, groups, that part is still the same. I don't have groups set up in this course, but creating the groups is very much the same. Now, if we're talking about this kind of site-wide groups that I mentioned before, it's not any more difficult. You can actually, I'll show you a little bit of those. They're called hierarchies. So in the administration menu, there's this new tab for hierarchies. And as I mentioned, you can set up hierarchies for positions, organizations, and then there's also this other thing called an audience that kind of encompasses whatever you need it to do. But positions, basically, if I were to manage the positions, I've got a couple different hierarchies on here, but the Acme one. So here's all the different positions in the company. So you can actually upload these in bulk, and then again, it's part of the user's profile. There's a kind of part of the upload process or the sync that you've got to a one of your identity providers. We can actually take it and then apply it to the user's profile so that they're automatically assigned to one of these groups. So again, it all happens hopefully seamlessly based on the information that's being fed into the profile. That other thing that I mentioned called an audience, it's listed here under accounts and audiences. Like I said, the audiences kind of are there to kind of fill the gap for whatever can't be done with anything else. And you can set up what's called a dynamic audience. And the rule sets are just really amazing. I mean, you can create a significant complex rule set based on any number of attributes of the users that are in the system. So in this case, I've got a rule that says a user's city has to contain anywhere, right? So they have to be from a city called anywhere. You can also add additional rules, again, based on profile information, what their position is, what their organization is, have they completed a course, are they a member of another audience, even when was their last or first access date. And you can have multiple kind of logic sets that kind of go from one to another. So, you know, contains anywhere and is also in an audience, another set, you know, building upon themselves. So to kind of answer your question, Larry, how easy is it? It's very, very easy, but you can also do a very, very complex set of rules to kind of automatically move people back and forth. I hope that answers your question. I sometimes go a little bit longer than I have to. Fernando asks, can we migrate from Standard Moodle to Totara, or do you need to start from scratch? You can migrate over. There's definitely a process in place. You know, obviously, there's a lot of people that are starting off with Moodle, and so that migration aspect is definitely taken into account when the great minds who put Totara together do that. So the basic course structure is inherently the same. A lot of the tables itself can be migrated over. That part is not that big of a deal. Virgil asks, can Totara send a reminder without someone sending it? Surveys sent out automatically 3 and 6 months after a student completes the course. Let's see, a survey being sent out afterwards. Let's see, that's a good question. I know that there are a number of automatic notifications that get sent out. I might have to research that one in particular, like a survey that's sent out kind of like a duration after a completion. I'm not aware of that one off the top of my head. That doesn't mean it can't be done. I'm thinking of like, there's also this feature called a 360 feedback. But I do not know if you can send it out based on an action that happened in a course. Tell you what, Virgil, I'm going to write that one down and kind of do a little bit of research on that. That's a good question. Like I said, I know that you can send out automatic notifications for part of that recertification feature that I mentioned before. I'm trying to think if maybe there was a way to kind of take advantage of that, so that, you know, maybe there's a that's maybe an aspect of the recertification is having to do that afterwards. But again, off the top of my head, that's the best that I can come up with. But I will research that. I'm going to write a note down for that one in particular. So along the lines of reminders, can the program send a notification 30 and 60 days prior to an annual recertification? Yes. That kind of goes along with what I was talking about in the last one. The notifications have a good deal of flexibility. There's something called a window of when that certification becomes open, and so using that window and the notification that's associated with it, I think you can get pretty fine detail as to you know, having a number of different notifications in that situation. Let's see. Larry asks, does the system integrate with Sharepoint? I would say yes. Remote Learner has already worked with Microsoft on a set of Office 365 integrations. We did that originally for Moodle, and there was a Sharepoint integration that was part of that. Because there's a good deal of similarity between especially the course structure of Moodle and Totara. We do have plans in the works right now to make sure that those integrations are going to work. I can't say with 100% that it's ready yet, but it's definitely in the lines of that we're working on. And once that's done, the same functionality that we created for the Moodle side of things would definitely be there for Totara as well. Let's see. Virgil asks, the surveys would 10 to 15 questions. Yeah. Again, I'm thinking of different ways to do that. If it was like an actual feedback tool that you could place in there, and again, you could put any number of questions in there. Also, the 360 feedback is very similar to that feedback activity in general. So you can actually create a feedback in here using a lot of the same things that are within the feedback module itself, with different types of questions that could be sent out. Okay. Okay. All right. While you guys are thinking of other questions, I was going to kind of come over here to this Find Learning report. Since we've got a few minutes, I wanted to kind of point out, this is another example of an embedded report. You know, a report that kind of is adding functionality to the system, but that can also be customized. So in this case, it's kind of a different way to see the course catalog. It's basically a way for you to search all of the courses that are within the site and be able to filter based on that. So again, the filters can be customized. Because it's a report, you can even customize the information that is appearing within this output. In this case, we've got the start date, the course name, and even the types of plugins that would be existing within that course. So additional information and columns can be added in there, all without any need for custom development. It is technically a report that was put into the system. All right. Okay. Let's see. Are there any other questions? Okay. Here we go. There's a question from John. What reports are exportable? Any report that's in the system is exportable. If I go back to Dan Bennett, sorry, I think I had a little bit of an audio glitch for a second. Apologize for that. If I go back to reports, and I click on one of these reports, all of them would be exportable into a variety of formats: CSV, Excel, PDF, ODS. So anything that's going to be within the system is going to be exportable. And actually, now that I think about it, that's one of the setup items, so that you can kind of know what formats are going to be exportable. But those are the main ones. There are options for it. So Fernando asks, I have multiple companies set up administrator for each company, and its visibility is only what concerns. Yes, to a certain extent you can. You can use that audience feature that I was talking about and kind of have people be automatically assigned to an audience. You can also, to a certain extent with Remote Learner, we can help you to kind of specifically according to each one of those, like from within the same theme, maybe based on their the name of the organization. It would automatically pull up and insert a logo and a change to the color palette. You can also take and create separate landing pages or dashboards for the learner. I don't have them set up on this demo site, but there is, I have to go to the right administrator. There we go. But here on appearance, layouts on who that is. Same way you can take your those audiences and assign them to categories or programs. They would show up when you search for them. So that, it's basically you're limiting visibility to content based on who they are. As far as, and the same thing would go for pulling back reports, right? You could then kind of view the people that pay theirs. Maybe it's through the team, maybe it's through the reports, so that they would be the only ones who would see them. We've also kind of got some things in the works, perhaps with a custom user upload, right? So that you have the ability to upload users and then maybe have that be automatically associated to an organization. So, like I said, I think there's a lot of things that we can do that totally has already got in the works that we've done that we can add to that, kind of make it a little bit closer to your vision, Fernando. All right. automatic generation of certificates. Charles, great name, asked about automatic certificates. Is something handled in a similar way as Moodle. The certificates could be using the course module, or the Moodle, originally the Moodle module of the certificate module. So at the completion of a course, or maybe the last course within the series, the module would basically show off and give them the ability to generate that pulling in their name, the name of it, the name of the program or something like that. So that would be something that could be handled within the course using some of that those features that have been pulled over originally from Moodle. Okay. All right. See, if there's no other questions, then I will give you guys back, looks like 7 minutes of your day so far. If you need to go off and move to something else. Again, I will hang out here for a few more minutes to continue to help answer some questions that get populated in. Again, thanks everybody for attending. There were some really great questions that you guys posed, kept me on my feet. And that one about kind of the automatic notifications concerning a survey to go out, I'm going to kind of dig a little deeper and see if there's anything else that I can find that would work for that. But otherwise, you guys are free to go. Again, thank you for attending, and hope you guys have a good rest of your day.